Hi guys, this is Avinash Sharma, and in this video we will discuss the scope of the variables in Python. The variables is like a container, and these variables can store the value, and each and variables has its own memory address. Unlike the other language like the C, C++, Java, before using the variables, first of all we have to declare the variable and the data type of the variable. But in case of the Python, we do not need to declare the variables before using, because in the Python, the moment you declare the variable, you define the variable and assign some value, immediately the variable is created. So what is the scope of variable in Python? Scope of variables means the boundary of the variable. When you create the variables, then that time the boundary or the scope of variable is decided depending on the location when you declare the variable. There are three types of the scope of the variable. First of all, the local variables, global variables, non-local variables, and the nested variables. So as you can see in the diagram, the first of all, the outermost, the black color, we can say it's our program, and then we have the built-in function. Built-in function means predefined function. That function already defined in the Python library, and we cannot edit those functions, we cannot change those functions, just we can use those functions. And these, the scope of predefined functions or built-in functions are the always global. It means the built-in function can be used anywhere in the program or even the package. In the second step, in the green box we have the global. Global means once we declare the function globally, then we can use that kind of variable throughout the program. Then next one in the enclosed. Enclosed means like when we declare the some functions and we create the function and then we create another functions within the function, that is called the nested function, or we can say parent function or child function, or we can say outer function or inner function. So if you declare the variable in the outer function or parent function, then it can be used in the inner or child function, because the inner function is the enclosed function. Then finally we have the local variable, or we can say it's a private variable. Generally it is declared in the functions. So when you declare the variable in a function, that variable is always private function, and that variable cannot be accessed outside of the body of the function. Now we check the scope of the variables with the practicals. So first of all, we check the local variables. As I told you, the local variables, it's like a private variables. When we declare in the function, the boundary or the scope of that function is within that function only, and that variables cannot be accessed outside the body of the function. So in this program we have the two functions, the add numbers and then multiply numbers, and within these two functions we have the one variable, that is the name result. So it doesn't matter, the name of the variable doesn't matter, we have the same name, but both there are two variables and these two values are declared within two functions. These are two variables. Now we are calling these functions add numbers and the multiply numbers. So if I execute this program, then we have the result 11 and 28, the multiply and the addition. But if I try to this one result, same name which is already declared in the both function as a local variable. So if I execute this one, now we have an error. The result is not defined because these result variable are the private variables or local variables and cannot be accessed outside of the body of the functions. Now let us check the global scope of the variable with this practical. So again we have the two functions, add numbers and the add multiply numbers, but we have the variable that is the same name with the same name, the result and the 1000 assigned to the result variable, but this time this result variable is the global variable with the global scope because it has been declared outside of the functions. So this variable can be used or accessed anywhere in this program. So if I run this program, then we have the 11 for the first function, and for the multiplication we have the 28. Then finally we print the result, that is the 1000. Even if I change the say global, then so the global variable has no impact on the private or local variable. Private variable has its own scope and the global has the scope of the whole program. Secondly, sometimes we have the private variables and we do not want to declare another variable, global variable, but we want to use the private variable or local variable as the global variable. In that case, suppose in this program, if I run this program, then we have the error print result not defined because I am using this result variable outside of the functions, and outside of this function there is no result variable declared. We can use this variable, private variable, as a GLOBA, global result. This global is a keyword or reserved word. Now the result variable is a global. So if I run this program, then we have the again 11. But this result in the second function still it's a local or private function. If I comment this one, so there is no result variable in this functions, but still if it does not find a private variable because we are using this variable result, then first of all it will locate this variable in this function. If it does not find, then it will use the global result. So if I run this program, then again 11, this one, then this one, again 11, and the finally. So this is how we can change a private variable into a global variable. Now we check the non-local variables. So as I told you, this can be used within the nested function. So here we have the two functions, the outer function or inner function, or we can say it's a parent or child function. So in the outer function we have a variable that is the message, and the value of this is local, and then message in the inner function or child function it's a non-local function. So if I run this program, then both message or both variable message with the same name has the different value from the outer and the inner. But sometimes we want to modify the value of the same variable used in the outer variable. So for that purpose we can declare the non-local. It's a keyword. It means this message variable is not local. This message variable is coming from this enclosed function, that is the outer function. Now we are modifying the value message. So this message is not private now. This message function is coming from the outer function. So if I run this program, then the inner function non-local and again print non-local, because we have defined this variable as a non-local. It means taking the reference from the outer function and modify the value of this message function. So the value of both variable is the same now. And now the built-in functions. As I told you, the built-in function or predefined functions, we can say these functions are already defined in the Python library, and we cannot edit or we cannot change the functions, or we cannot change the definition of the functions. Just we can use or access these functions. So in this program we have a pi, and we are not declaring or we are not creating any kind of the variable for the pi, just we are using this pi functions. So if I run this program, now this is the value of the pi. So this is the predefined function and has no boundary, can be accessed anywhere in the program. So guys, this was all about the scope of the variables in the Python. Please like the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks.